I've got family history in this. You know, I learned a lot when I was young. You know, I learned it from different people. You know, my dad and stuff like that. And I've always been on the water. I can remember being on a boat with my dad and gill netting. So I mean, I've always done this. Always been around the water. You know, as a small kid, I would paddle down here in a little boat, fish every day. I was born, I went to the house 400 yards away from this place, is where I actually stayed on Bayville Farms. You know, I miss this place. But the reality is I get to commute back and forth, and the ride across the bridge is great. Yeah, and I can't afford it as a fisherman anymore to live here. I basically harvest in the Lynnhaven River in the lower Chesapeake Bay. The population of blue crabs has been fluctuating always. It's highs and lows, you know, throughout the years. Really, we started having a major problem with the blue crab in about 1997 through 2007. And at that point, major regulations were put in place to protect the spawning age female. And since then, we really haven't had any problems at all as far as population other than climate events. We had, you know, probably 10 or 15 oystermen in the river. We've had shucking houses on this river, and unfortunately, you know, because of the decline over the years with pollution and stuff like that, everybody went away. But now that it's changing, it's coming back.
Delicious. Not as much salt as I would have thought. The river that day when I harvested was 28 parts per thousand, but it doesn't have as much brine as I thought it would. So it's interesting. Interesting. Every day is different. You know, every week you get some rain, changes the water, changes salinity. You know, we've had kind of a rainy, really August, basically August, started July 20th, it just rained, August, September. So, I don't know. I'm gonna have another one in a minute.
I'm going for oysters.
Great. These are from Lynnhaven River, 300-year legend. There you go, just a little bit. You get you a couple pieces, get a piece of apple too. Get a piece of that apple.
Oh, this is apple?
Yeah, fresh Virginia apples.
How do you grow oysters?
Well, you buy the seed. When you buy the seedlings, they're about as big as your pinky fingernail. And you grow them out. It takes a year. For us, usually 18 months to 2 years. We do everything handcrafted. There's no pressure washing. We don't use automated tumblers. I mean, everything we do is by hand. It's truly a handcrafted oyster.
Oh, really good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm doing a talk at 2. That's right. Yes, sir.
It's come up quick.
Cool. You gonna be there?
I think so.
Okay, good deal.
Yep, send over that.
Good deal.
I can't pass a couple oysters.
Yeah. No, eat them now because I won't have any in there. I'm gonna have. We're gonna have some crab meat though.
Okay.
You know, when the crabs went down in numbers, you know, in 04, 05, 03, you know, there wasn't crabs around, so they had to have crab meat. I mean, we just had to have it. So we actually, you know, started importing it then. So now our crabs have come back, and we've still got to wean ourselves off this dependence.
The problem is our picking houses are already gone there. That's a big problem because of the imported meat. I mean, it's basically, it's impacted me. It impacted me probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is what's happened. You know, when they started really importing meat because there really wasn't a lot of crabs around back in the early 2000s. And they didn't have that. They had to fill their void, unfortunately.
So growing up in the summertime, we ate crabs at least once a week, sometimes more. We ate sweet corn all the time. We ate watermelon all the time, cantaloupe, because that was fresh. Now we talk about eating what's in season and we eat fresh and farm to table. That was required because that was cheap. You know, my family's from Eastern North Carolina, Southeastern Virginia. Our family goes back to 1715. Fishing, lumbering, and harvesting. I know when I see something, you know, if it's right or wrong. But the main thing I want y'all to have is an honest product. I want you to understand and ask what's out there.
Most of your restaurants around here, very, very few actually use local crab meat. Most of them use imported. And the reason why, number one, cost is the problem. It costs so much less for imported meat than it does for domestic meat.
Crab meat is probably one of the things that you go into a restaurant in Virginia Beach and you expect that you're going to get domestic crab meat, and you don't. Very few restaurants use domestic crab meat because of the price. We use domestic crab meat, and if you're going to be here on the Lynnhaven River, you need to be as domestic as possible. If you look at our board right now, we've got speckled trout, we've got mahi, we've got puppy drum, we've got sheep's head that come out of Carolina, flounder, we've got swordfish, and we've still got rockfish. We've got some East Coast halibut as well. People can go in, they can look in the market, they can see what we have, they can see what looks good, and they can come out here and order it.
And people have got to get away from this, a piece of flaky white meat. That's their vision of eating seafood. You know, we have to re-educate ourselves, you know, as to what, you know, eating seafood's about. And then we got to work on a place to sell it, to provide it, you know, a place for the public to come find it. You know, we're losing our waterfronts, we're losing places to dock our boats, you know, to development. The commercial fishermen are finding it harder and harder to find a place to tie up.
Now there are a few places, you know, that I'd used to go and I'd sell a lot of crabs to them, but unfortunately they've gone by the wayside. Right around the corner, that's where my dad crabbed out of, my great-grandfather. That you see what's there, don't you? Multi-million-dollar homes. Once the place where I tie up is gone, I'm done, you know, unless I can find some other place in Lynnhaven. And really, honestly, there are none. We don't have a place to go, you know, really, honestly, we don't. So.
There's not the production of seafood in this area that there was, which could be for a variety of reasons. Some people like to point to overfishing, but you've also got to take into consideration that the amount of building that's happened in this area and the degradation of the wetlands.
You know, we really need to have a place where people can come down and just buy off the boat. You know, I mean, I'd love to be able to pull up in this boat after I finish crabbing, you know, sell them by the dozen. It would help my bottom line.
You know, people want to go and sit down in a restaurant and eat seafood, but then they see us unloading our fish, you know, early in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning. We've got to start our engines, and, you know, they're complaining about the smells of the sites. Well, that's what this town was built on. You know, and now all of a sudden, you know, we're this, you know, scruffy, you know, dirty, noisy neighbor, you know, that provides great seafood. What's it going to be?
We should re-educate the consumer about what they're actually buying. When they go to a restaurant, the first thing they need to do is say, hey, I want crab cakes, but is your meat from overseas or is it local and fresh? And people don't know to ask that question because they automatically assume, hey, I'm in the Chesapeake Bay region, I'm going to get Chesapeake Bay blue crab. It's not the truth. And they basically say it costs less. The general public doesn't know.
You know, working waterfronts are going to be part of Virginia Beach. That, you know, local seafood is going to be part of Virginia Beach's future. You know, that watermen and waterwomen, fishing families have a place in Virginia Beach. You know, or is it going to be the next thing on the endangered species list? Is it going to be the next thing? I mean, we're going to have, you know, 50 seafood restaurants in Virginia Beach and no seafood harvesters. You know, how credible is that, you know, for a town that claims to be a beachfront and waterfront destination, you know, with great seafood, yet none of it will be offloaded within the city limits?